Communication style project. This is my test. Everybody take their test.
Yeah.
Mine, default communication style. I don't know that I agreed with it 100% because as I read all of the communication styles, I thought to myself, well, depending on who I'm talking to or what we're talking about, I actually use all of these styles throughout the day. So I got to thinking about how is it that I know the appropriate style to provide in the context to share with somebody. And it actually comes down to a communication skill that I feel is possibly the most important and possibly most underutilized skill. And it's actually active listening. Listening, okay? So there are whole books written on this. I could talk to you all day. We could have a long conversation about active listening. But what I want to share with you are the 4 things that I tend to do as I'm trying to actively listen to somebody. Okay? And all of that kind of starts with, engagement. I want to be fully engaged and paying attention to the person. And I'm always really engaged in everything I'm doing. So what does this really mean? Be engaged. Talk to that person and look at them. Pay attention to what's going on. Stop multitasking. You can get back to that email a little bit later. You don't need to play that game on your phone while you're listening to them, even if they can't see you. Listen and fully engage and talk to them. If you have the pleasure of actually being in a video conference, look at them. But as was previously stated, don't be really aggressive about it. Be engaged. So, now that I have put all of my distractions away and I can pay attention to what you're telling me about, I can now do what's possibly the most difficult part, and that's be patient. Be patient. Have you ever talked to that person who talks a lot and then they talk a lot and then they ask you a question, did you know about this? And then they go to a side story and then they talk about something a little bit more. And then they go back and they ask a question and maybe they start answering their question and then they talk about something a little bit more. Yeah, we've all talked about that person. Yeah. This is possibly the most difficult person for me to listen to. Oh, yeah. And it's not because they're not interesting. They're usually telling you a lot of interesting things, but it's because I'm forgetting what I needed to respond to them about. But there's actually a very easy solution to this. Right here. Right here. If they say something and it sparks an idea, write it down. If they ask a question and you have the answer, but don't have the opportunity to say it, write it down. If they say something and now you have a question, like, oh my gosh, write it down. Maybe they'll get to it as they're talking about it in the answer, but write it down. Now, the third thing I'm doing here, while I'm listening to the words that they're saying, is I am listening to what they're not saying, as was previously discussed here today. Are they being very choosy with their words and really kind of picking how they say something? Are they potentially, I'll make note of that, are they potentially, do you hear any tonal changes? Do they sound really excited when they talk about this particular thing? Do they sound really irritated? If you have the pleasure of actually seeing them, you're in a video conference or we're right here talking about it, do they look tense or do they look really excited and happy? What is their body language saying? The final thing I'm thinking about is, who is this person? Where do they come from? Understanding and thinking about the person helps you to understand the context of what they're telling you. You see, through the course of any particular day, I could be talking to managers and executives, talking to vendors, could be talking to nerds like myself that are highly technical IT architects and developers. Could be talking to customers and our business folks that are focused on the external customer. All of these people care about something vastly different. And so it provides a very different context to the information that they're providing to me. And it's important to understand that as you're listening to them. So with all of this information, I have made sure I'm fully engaged, put all my stuff away, been patient, writing down my thoughts, I've been listening to them, been thinking about those things that they're not verbally communicating to me, but are just as important. So now I'm to my 4th step in talking with these folks. And it's probably the most important thing. It's ensuring that I heard what they wanted me to hear. Don't be a parrot. Don't just restate what they said. Take a moment to summarize what you heard in a few sentences. Personally, I'm a very big fan of the simile. Like, hey, heard you talking about this thing over here. It reminds me of this thing that we worked on a few months ago, these two other things. In addition, as you were talking, you sounded really excited, and this particular aspect of this project seemed really, really important to you. So no matter what we do, I want to make sure that we don't lose focus of that. Did I hear you right? Did I hear you right? Did I misstate something? Did I miss anything? Did I get something wrong? This is extremely important because now you're putting the ball back into their court, and they give now the opportunity to do one of two things. One, yes, you nailed it. That's exactly what I was getting at. Good job. Or close, not exactly what I was going for, but actually this thing over here is what's most important to me. So it gives them an opportunity to restate what is actually they're trying to get across to you, because maybe they didn't get that way. So with that information, I now can comprise the appropriate response with the right level of detail and apply that appropriate communication style. Maybe they're in a hurry, I need to be direct. Maybe they're a customer and I need to be a little bit more laid back and build that rapport with them. So they're going to get a little bit more of a lower technical, more layman's response. But regardless of all of this and who they are, I wouldn't know the type of response and the level of detail and the communication style to apply had I not taken the time to actually actively listen to what they're trying to communicate to me. So my friends, the next time you have the pleasure of conversing with somebody, I encourage you not to jump in and just respond, but rather take a moment to stop and listen to what they're saying. Woo!